having defeated the Demon King, decided that now the world around him has found peace and the long-awaited peace will come. But it was different. The princess decided to start a hero for daring to reject her and execute him. The princess stated that after Raoul destroyed the Demon King, he was no longer needed, and since he could become a threat to the royal family, he should be disposed of. On his deathbed, Raoul screamed in pain and promised to kill this woman who had deceived him, as well as punish all traitors. After his death, Raoul found himself in the white world, where he was before his birth, and I realized that he was really dead. Raoul asked the goddess of love how she felt watching him die in vain. The goddess replied that if this happened, then it was meant to be. She said that she had to give Raoul strength and asked him to torture her a little. Raoul told the goddess that if she truly loved him, she should resurrect him and allow him to destroy those who had treated him so viciously. A year later, in the kingdom of Kurz, preparations were underway for the princess' wedding at Yulbach Castle. The maids assured the bride that her fiancé Emil would be charmed, because the snow-white dress is very suitable for her white skin and light hair. Suddenly, the princess was enraged and shouted that it was really not clear from her expression that she did not like this dress, so there must be something more appropriate than these white rags. The maids tried to remind her that this dress was given to her highness by Emil, and that it was very expensive. But the princess ordered that another dress should be brought to her immediately, and that the body of the maidservant, who was hindering her, should also be taken away. Commander Sandra thought that the recent events were a bad sign for the princess. The soldiers guarding the gate were destroyed and still nothing is known about the culprit. It's not even clear if he's a demon or not. So the Royal Order of Knights is desperately investigating this strange case. The princess asked Sandra what had brought her here. The knight thought that even if his words didn't please the princess, he still had to say them. Sandler said that in his opinion, holding a parade is a bad idea. After all, the investigation is not over yet, and you cannot endanger the princess. The knight asked if he could change the princess' mind. The princess replied that if even a single scratch appeared on her skin, she would completely destroy the order that had been created. Protects it. Sandra recalled that the country's leaders have recently died one after another from an unknown disease. Therefore, the Order of Knights must always be prepared for the worst-case scenario. At the same time, many strong defenders were defeated and were unable to resist. The princess replied to the knight that everything he said had absolutely nothing to do with her. At the same time, she does not care how many withered old people die, since such things are completely uninteresting to her. Sandra said that all those who were dying in delirium asked for the same thing. These are blessings for Her Highness the Princesses. The knight asked to postpone the parade at least for a while until the criminal who killed the soldiers is caught. Sandra explained that he felt a connection between the killing of soldiers at the gate and the deaths of people from a mysterious disease. The princess exclaimed that there would be a lot of shields on the parade, and what should she be afraid of, because the Demon King and all the heroes are dead, and she herself despises showing fear. She reminded me that the country's one-of-a-kind treasure, and its knights and people are its true shield. Sandra replied that this was indeed the case and thought that this woman was incredibly cruel. Residents of Radosno Princess Victoria was greeted, and some asked to wave her hand. Cheers and words of gratitude could be heard from everywhere. Victoria said that she is the one who is very much loved by the townspeople. Prince Emil Auclair said that the beautiful princess is as cruel as ever. He reminded her that his mother was thrilled with their union, so he was just as excited about their marriage. But he couldn't help but notice how Victoria had checked on him 3 times during the party. Victoria replied that she had no complaints about Emil's social status, but in the face of her ambitions, it was an insignificant thing. Victoria thought that Emil, as a tool, will be useful because he has a good pedigree, while being stupid and not bad-looking. Therefore, it will be easy to put him on the throne to seize power in the country, and then give birth to an heir. Victoria decided that if she only cared about looks, it would be much easier, and so she will have to be close to someone who cannot boast of anything but appearance. Raoul introduced himself and promised to kill the Demon King, even at the cost of his life. Victoria looked at Raoul's honest eyes and thought that she really wanted to defile them. Subsequently, she managed to finish it with her own hands. Hands to death, and she liked that. Then the Knights of the Order, led by the commander, appeared and people began to greet them. Victoria decided that this world belongs to her and she will capture even more. Priests began to bless the marriage of Princess Victoria and Emil, while they asked God to grant them happiness and prosperity. I immediately remembered Commander Sandra's words, how all those sick people before they died also asked for a blessing for Princess Victoria. Raoul told the princess that they had not seen each other for a long time and asked how she was doing. All Victoria could say was that she could swear Raoul was dead. The guy replied that he was resurrected in order to take revenge on her. Raoul decided that she was a completely insane deity. After all, he had met her before he was reborn. Previously, he only wanted to become a savior and bring peace to everyone around him. The goddess also asked to scold her as much as possible for what she loved, but did not help in any way. Rael thought it was nonsense that she said he was her lover. Perhaps it's because she's the goddess of love that she supports him so blindly. Rael asked her to remember one thing, that everything happened in accordance with the wishes of the gods, and never forget the fate of the one whom God has chosen as his savior. After all, the true nature of people who are trying to save, kill the savior, forgetting about his merits. Rael asked the goddess that they still loved these barbarians, even though they would not be able to save them now, and all their judgments were wrong. The goddess told Rael that he was someone she loved and that every part of him mattered to her. After all, he has the power that could control the world, and his fearless gaze shows a strong will. Rael decided that this goddess of love might be surprisingly useful. He asked to borrow his power and bring him back to life so that he could destroy the offenders. The goddess replied that the deceased spirit must not return to earth until it is purified. Rael asked her if she could do it, since he didn't care about the rules of the gods himself. The goddess said that if she broke the divine rules, she might be stripped of her position. Rael said that if her feelings for him were genuine, then she should do it. Rael decided that he should use anything to get revenge, because those people were the cause of his death. The goddess exclaimed that she could not do this, because the power of darkness must destroy everything and take it for itself, and his soul will be consumed by the darkness. Rael said he didn't. I expected her to refuse, even though he already has a sad experience with people. Therefore, he only has one wish, to have the other power that she sealed returned to him. He recalled that he stopped being a human being at the moment when all the most important things were taken away from him. The goddess offered Rael to live happily with her, because she is in paradise for all eternity. Rael said that he would only feel happy when he watched the suffering, and if he is the savior, then he must purify the world by killing demons and grant salvation. The goddess asked if he really wanted to go down the path of carnage. Rael, he said that she understood everything correctly and that this was his goal. The goddess said that even if he succumbed to the darkness, he would still be beautiful to her. Rael thought that this goddess was really a crazy pervert. He asked me to fulfill his wish as soon as possible. The goddess replied that his happiness is also hers, although for her parting brings pain. She declared that she was sending Rael to the mundane world and bestowing her blessing on the goddess. Rael replied that all she had to do was resurrect him and asked her to hurry. The goddess said that this is the beginning of a new legend for Rael, and he should go as a hero. Rael decided it was time to start cleaning up this damned world. The soldiers told the stranger that he should go away, because this place is allowed only on the orders of the nobility due to the fact that Princess Victoria is holding a wedding ceremony. Rael remembered how these soldiers had bullied and killed his comrades, so he remembered them all perfectly. He said it was very interesting, since the princess was going to be married. A whole month had already passed since the resurrection, and this day was a long-awaited one. The princess screamed that Rael was a real abomination and how dare he interfere with her. Rael asked what was another person's life just an abomination to her. Sandra said it was a demon who had taken the form of a dead hero and killed God's ambassador in the process. Rael said that these church officials robbed guests and found false accusations to execute people, while torturing innocent people who have no money to pay off. Victoria told the knight that Rael was trying to talk his teeth out of his mouth on purpose and that you couldn't listen to him. She began to accuse Rael of being a demon and having to show his true form. Rael replied that she should stop talking nonsense, and this is his real form. Victoria screamed that it was impossible, because he was long dead. Rael decided that she still wouldn't believe him, so she should take a closer look at him. Sandra ordered her knights to protect the princess. Rael asked him if he really wanted to scare the kids. Rael appealed to the frightened audience not to run away, but to stay to watch the performance, because it will be exciting. Raoul said that there is a rare sight ahead, a performance, and in the main role everyone's favorite Princess Victoria. People begged Rael to stop and let them walk away. Everyone was afraid that they, too, would suffer death at his hands, and they are ordinary residents and have nothing to do with it. Princess Victoria ordered people to close their mouths and stop panicking, because she herself is not afraid of this monster who pretends to be a hero. Rael reminded her that he wasn't a monster at all, that he had just been reborn back into this world, and that her little brain couldn't possibly accept that fact. Knight Sandra hesitated, and the princess immediately killed the non-demon attacker. Sandra replied that she couldn't move her legs, but Victoria did. She said she didn't care, and that she had to kill Raoul. It doesn't matter if she has legs or not. Raoul said he wouldn't let Sandra disrupt his performance script. Sandra ordered him to be quiet and added that she wouldn't let him lay a finger on the princess. Raoul thought she was a noble female knight, but he knew Victoria's dark face. The princess began to demand not to touch her, while calling Raoul an impudent asshole. Raoul replied that she must go with him, and that the curtain would soon be drawn. Raoul said that since it was a wedding, how could you do without a husband? He suggested the newlyweds show their feelings in public, because that's what they gathered for. Emil Auclair screamed in horror that he could not control his body, and began to ask for salvation. Victoria told him to get off her and stop yelling. Raoul laughed at the scene and said that the princess's hubby had a mother's complex, although now all the actors are on stage and they are ready to perform. Raoul asked Princess Victoria why she changed traditions and did not wear a white dress to the wedding. After all, the color of blood is more distinct on a white cloth. Victoria was horrified when her dress was torn, and asked Raoul, who'd let him do this to her. Raoul replied that she should not worry, since she was getting married. Then there were plans for the birth of children. After all, it's high time for the main characters to start playing. Victoria asked if Raoul really wanted to rape her, the princess, in front of everyone. She screamed that she didn't have the body that a stinker like him could touch. Victoria threatened to kill Raoul again if he dared to touch her. The guy asked, so she still recognizes him as a hero if she said so. Victoria demanded to immediately kneel down and apologize to her. Raoul replied that she wasn't quite sure how to handle the situation if she wanted to. Sandra urged Raoul to fight fairly, because taking the princess hostage is cowardly as a hero. Raoul asked Sandra if she'd forgotten what they'd used to catch him, and how she can talk about honesty after that. After all, back then, he sincerely wanted to destroy the Demon King in order to restore world peace, and all the villagers accompanied him on this mission. And after he defeated the Demon King, the princess ordered to kill all the inhabitants of Raoul's village, including women and small children. And then Sandra obediently obeyed this vile order, and then the hero himself was captured. Sandra said that it wasn't her fault, and she was only following the princess' orders honestly, because she was one of the knights. Raoul said that the destruction of the guards was a tribute to her, and didn't she understand that? Sandra replied that it was permissible to commit a massacre for the sake of justice. After all, the soldiers were willing to die for the princess, just like those villagers, since their lives are worth nothing more than trash to her. Sandra realized that her voice had grown louder, and Raoul explained that he had amplified it with magic so that everyone could hear. Raoul thanked Sandra for the words he wanted to hear, because now the princess's crimes are solved. People began to whisper that this was really the work of Victoria, and not the hero, as they were told. Raoul said that he needed to have some more fun and hit Victoria with Sandra's hand. Raoul laughed at the show, and Sandra said her body wasn't listening to her. Raoul told the princess that her pretty face was no longer so beautiful, and didn't matter so much anymore. Victoria hissed back that it was unforgivable. Raoul said that they are nearing the final performance, and Victoria is still she must atone for the murder of his older sister. The hero recalled how shortly before the Demon King's subjugation, he asked his sister to worry more about herself, because she was carrying a child, but she laughed it off and said she was going to be fine. Raoul thought that the saint who built the church would provide her with protection, but she always said that she was worried about her little brother. Raoul said goodbye that when he returned, his nephew should already be born. The sister and her husband promised to pray for Raoul every day and wait for him to return. But then Raoul was captured and accused by the princess just for existing. Victoria said at the time that it was only needed to subdue the Demon King, and then it became an unnecessary thing that should be thrown away. Raoul asked why she burned down his village, but the princess said it was his fault. She offered the hero salvation if he became hers, but then decided to desecrate him and ordered Sandra to take Raoul to the church. Raoul saw and was horrified, because there was a murdered sister. Raoul said that Victoria would be responsible for the death of his older sister. The princess exclaimed what she was planning to do. The hero thought that he could not kill her so easily and must continue to torture her so that her betrayal would be destroyed. Victoria screamed that she was in a lot of pain and her stomach was going to burst. Emil started calling out to his mother and saying that he was very scared. Raoul told the princess that if she continued to scream, she would die from excessive bleeding. He decided that he had to stop the bleeding, because if he died now, it would be boring. Raoul asked her how he felt, because she was supposed to. It doesn't hurt to be there anymore. Victoria screamed that it was incomprehensible and impossible, because Raoul was her pawn and tool. She asked me what the hell had happened. Raoul explained that he was just copying what they did, and she herself reaps what she has sown and receives retribution for her misdeeds. Raoul reminded the knights that they should also worry, because in the end, they will also get what they deserve and die a miserable death. Raoul announced that today's performance was over. Victoria demanded to kill Raoul immediately, and if this is not done, she promises to punish everyone. Raoul chuckled and said that the princess was still barking no matter what. The knights rushed forward, shouting that Raoul must die, and they would do it for Her Highness the Princess. Victoria exclaimed that she had promised to kill Raoul, and now he must repent before he died. and the rest of us should understand what happens when someone goes against it. Rael replied that he was a hero and wouldn't die from a few sword strikes, and so it can't meet her expectations. Victoria screamed that this couldn't be happening. Rael promised to return as soon as the princess regained her beautiful face. Finally, Rael grinned as he congratulated Victoria on her wedding and blessed her highness. Rael apologized to his sister. He said that the church should burn in hellfire, because he no longer intends to return a second time. Rael was surprised to see his sister's ghost, and chuckled at how gorgeous it was. After all, now he can even see a ghost. Rael told his sister that the kingdom's capital was in turmoil right now. The people are on the verge of revolting against Princess Victoria because of suspicions against her. Those who believed in the princess are now in fear, even though he is also being hunted. Several healers in the country are taking care of Victoria, but her stomach is finished, and a barrier is put up around the capital, so no mouse can escape. Rael said he killed the cursed priest who sold out his sister before the parade even started, and it was quite fascinating. And then by dressing up as a priest, he was able to surprise the princess, so that her face at that moment was a real masterpiece. The priest's name was Gustav. He lived in a huge luxury mansion and received money unfairly, stealing from ordinary people. Gustav was shocked that Rael was able to survive. Rael, he explained that he had first fully revealed Gustav's true nature. The priest begged for mercy, promising the hero a lot of money and women, believing that he could use his influence to buy Rael. But then the hero brutally killed Gustav, using the punishment of water torture, which he himself liked to use. Rael decided that he would definitely take revenge and show no more mercy. After all, what they did to him and his loved ones cannot be forgiven. So we need to kill every damned bastard of these people. Rael told his older sister not to worry and that it was time for him to go. The hero said that now the second act of this comedy begins. Princess Victoria asked the good-for-nothing Sandra why she didn't cut off her own legs to protect her. Sandra barely said that she was to blame and apologized for her offense. Victoria replied that her apology wasn't even worth a lock of her hair. The princess screamed that now she couldn't leave the castle and kill people or do anything, as if she was cursed. The princess told Sandra that if she couldn't die yet, she should keep screeching, because stupid pigs should just grunt like they should. Victoria ordered the soldiers to continue torturing Sandra, and also immediately grabbed the hero. The soldiers tried to explain that there was some sort of barrier around the city and that it must be the effect of magic. But the princess repeated the order, grab the hero and immediately kill him, and then bring his head to her, so that she would be happy about it. The messenger was racing and thought that he must deliver a secret message as quickly as possible, otherwise there would be trouble. After all, their only ally is the one who can cross swords with the hero Raoul. The messenger asked the frightened horse what had happened to him. He then cursed when he saw the goblins and said that he didn't have time to fight those vile ones, the bastards. The young messenger was horrified and realized that the Goblin King himself was behind him. It flashed through his mind that this was the end, but in the next moment, he realized that His Excellency had saved him. The savior explained to the guy that it seems that he was tracked down by a pack and asked if he was safe. The knight advised me to stay close to him. The messenger was only surprised at how many goblins his rescuer managed to kill in an instant. He thought that it was not for nothing that this man was considered the greatest swordsman in the country. The savior told the messenger that now he will not be a prey for goblins, and this makes him very happy. The head swordsman told his sons that he was going to the royal capital tomorrow. The children asked that he was probably going there to track down the rumored resurrected hero. The father, grinning, told his son Adam that news travels very fast. He explained that a messenger had arrived from the Imperial Guard camp this morning, and it looked like they really wanted him to deal with this hero. Adam said he expected nothing less from his father. The son asked to kill the hero in the most merciless way possible. The kids said they could fight two together with my father if they were only a little older. My father replied that time would pass in the blink of an eye, and they would become adults. The father told his daughter Connie that he would bring home a new toy on the way back from the royal capital. In the meantime, she needed to focus on training with her big brother. Connie replied that she would be grateful to her father for the gift. The landlord's wife said he was very soft on Connie. The head swordsman told his son that he was looking forward to the moment when they could fight together shoulder to shoulder. A young servant asked the master what to do for the messenger's meal, but the more experienced servant apologized for his colleague's stupidity and explained that he had recently started working here. The master said that they could go, because the messenger was very worried about the royal capital, and had already left a few minutes ago, so he didn't need any food. The maid apologized for keeping the master waiting and offered to try the main course. The owner replied that she was finally here and added that the fragrance was really irresistible. Father said that after all, there was nothing better than eating this dish before the battle. After all, he had hunted this prey himself today. He reminded the children that you must hunt your own game. The kids said it was very cute and they wanted to do the same. After tasting the meat, the head of the family declared that it was delicious and decided that it gave off the taste of victory. My father said that he was grateful to the messenger for his hard work. The next day, the swordsman prepared to leave the castle of Oberth. The children parted and asked their father to bring them the hero's head. When their father left, they decided that they needed to go hunting with the toy. Connie said it was quite noisy because Adam was breaking the toy's throat. My mother replied that the old toy would no longer be needed, because my father would definitely bring a new one. The children began to kill the toy as quickly as possible, trying to get ahead of each other. The bloodied body made the children excited and Adam said that he would kill him. Rael called them stinky brats and said they looked funny playing with fire. The hero said that he intended to join the two of them and it would be fun. A month before the wedding procession, the guards at the gate ordered Rael to turn around and walk away. One of the soldiers even said that he had seen this guy somewhere before, but could not remember. Rael said that he was very interested in choosing the first one. The soldiers knew that this was the hero Rael, but he was dead and that could not be. The soldiers surrounded Raoul and said that he was probably angry with them because they had fucked and killed all the women he cared about. They scoffed that it was unforgettable, and after the violence, they just threw the corpses on a pile of manure. Raoul replied that any of them would be the perfect candidate to test his new powers, and so it was time to start. The soldiers began to ask Raoul to stop, because they were only following the princess's orders to rape and kill women. Rael said that if he did, he would slowly rape them too, since he was a heretic like Victoria. Rael told the terrified children that the weather was fine today. The children began to demand to untie them and threaten violence from their father. They shouted that their father was General Brown. Rael asked the servants to dig faster, because the sun was already setting. The hero told the children that he had a special favor that he would pay back later, but for now they should sit quietly and calmly. One of the servants called out what he had found, and Rael offered to look at it. The servant tried to say that he didn't understand anything, but Rael reminded him not to lie to him. The hero advised the others to try their best. But for now in this game, Enrico Koniec gets 1 point and takes the lead. But it's not enough yet, because they all know how many people died in this vile castle. Enrico begged to be released, and the maid called out that more remains had been found. Rael said that there seemed to be more brutal evidence and asked if the general had eaten the same meat yesterday. Enrico hesitated, but the hero reminded him not to lie. Rael said it was no wonder the servants were as rotten as their masters. After all, it is quite clear that they earned money by taking people apart and then burying the remains. Children, they shouted that as soon as their father returned, he would immediately send Rael to hell. Rael said there was no need to shout like that, because he had already notified the general himself, and he would be back soon. Jean General decided that she would save the children right now, and a poison arrow would even be enough to instantly kill the Goblin King. Therefore, the main dish of today's dinner will be the hero Raoul. The children were glad that they didn't even need a father to deal with such garbage as this hero, and their mother would do everything. Rael said it was time to untie the two of them and give them both the special favor he'd said he didn't want to do. Not so long ago, the children screamed in horror as they watched their mother die from her own arrow. Rael calmly explained that their mother was too vulnerable, so he would make them both do their duty before their father returned home. The general ordered a servant to give water to the horses, but after a minute, the servant shouted that there was some devilry ahead. General, ask what the commotion is about. The servant explained that there was something strange and frightening behind the bushes. The general noticed a strange bright light and realized that it was the messenger they had killed yesterday. The general said that this is completely absurd and how is it possible that there is a ghost ahead. The ambassador's spirit told the general that the hero Raoul and his children were waiting for the general. The general, stammering with horror, tried to ask the ghost what that meant. The goddess of love wondered what Raoul was going to do with his revenge. Sighing with excitement, the goddess said that she was truly jealous of Princess Victoria. Raoul thought that the goddess of love was a real pervert if she liked it that way. Raoul said that time flies when the day is full and these murderers deserve it for their actions. And yet, dark magic is really convenient, because with its help you can see the past of any person. Raoul looked at the servants' past, how they were happy about each murder and how they got paid for it. He said that these people really have dark souls. Raoul chuckled, for he had risked his life for such people, and in their hearts are rooted rotten souls who are happy to sacrifice others. The hero said that before he had absolutely no idea about people, and what they did here is really the specialty of the demons and their master is to blame for everything. Raoul greeted the general and said that he had arrived earlier than expected. The hero exclaimed that they were all very much waiting for him. Rael, pointing to the corpse of the general's wife, said that it was a masterpiece of his son's, a beautiful piece of art. Rael, mocking the general, added that his children were very diligent in working on their mother. The general roared with rage and asked where Rael had put his children. Rael asked the general to calm down and offered to take a closer look at the masterpiece. The general demanded an immediate answer to his question. Rael replied that it was unnecessary to try to cut him with a sword and that there was no need to worry, since his children were still alive. Rael asked the general to take a closer look at the masterpiece and asked if the scene didn't remind him of anything. For example, his native home, the village of Baton. Chapter 9. Rael thought back to when he was a youngster, how he picked mushrooms and told his older sister about it. My sister said it was a wonderful job. My mother made a delicious meal and always reminded me to wash my hands. Rael's native village of Baton is a small settlement located in the western part of the kingdom of Cowrie. Raoul was born and raised in this place. He lived peacefully with his mother and older sister. Even on that strange day, they were enjoying themselves and catching a rabbit for dinner with their sister. A wounded Uncle Hans reported that their village had been attacked. The general then asked if there were any survivors and reported that he came to help. The general said that he had heard about the attack of several demons and was amazed at such cruelty. He asked Rael and his sister if it was really their mother in the tree. General Brown explained to Rael that this light is a sign that he is a hero, and apparently then the resentment of the little boy awakened heroic forces in him. General Brown suggested that the boy go with him to the castle, and apologized for not being able to get to the village before the demons attacked to destroy these creatures of hell. Rael arrived in the capital with the general and began training in the royal capital as a hero. Then, of course, he didn't realize that this was a specially prepared path for him in accordance with someone else's plans. Rael said that it turns out that he always had the wrong impression about the actions of demons. As a child, he was stupid and naively believed all the words of the general's men. And then I decided that I must destroy all the demons for the sake of humanity. General Brown asked if this was all revenge at that time. The general confirmed that he was the one who burned down Rael's pathetic village, and it was exciting for him. After all, it's rare to get a chance to commit genocide on the king's orders. General Brown said he was sorry he couldn't have killed Rael then. And even if Rael is a hero, he is still the strongest in the kingdom. The general declared that Rael's mother's taste was delicious, and he remembers how she tried to protect the village boy, and then he cooked her and was surprised that the meat of the village girl was very tasty and tender. Rael replied that he was not at all impressed and had known everything for a long time, so he repeated all this with the general's wife. Rael laughed and asked the general if he really thought he was the strongest, continuing to do the same thing for many years, because it was very boring. General Brown shouted that Rael's words were utter nonsense, and that he was the strongest man. Rael replied that this was very good of the general and reminded him that it was time to light up, and he would tear his children apart. Chapter 10. Rael said that General Brown's sons were chained up in the dungeon of his estate, and that he could save them if he could only win a fight with him. General Brown declared that this was fine, and that after his victory he and his sons would feast on Rael's flesh. The general shouted that Rael was finished now. Rael replied that the general would never have been able to hit him with such a puny attack, and so now it was his turn to attack. General Brown laughed and said that Rael's blow was too weak. Rael explained to the general that he was pinned to the ground, despite all the efforts. General Brown snarled in delight, viciously trying to burn Rael to the ground. But to his surprise, Rael said it was great, and that was exactly what he was talking about. Rael asked the general if he was already out of breath, because it was very fast and therefore it was worth finishing. General Brown advised Raoul not to look down on him, because he is the strongest man in the country. Raoul, striking again, asked the general if he hadn't just been bragging about his strength, and now he was lying like a log. General Brown yelled that he would never lose, because he was the strongest and this was just some kind of joke. Raoul asked if it was the general he can still fight, because he is already losing and he should understand this. Raoul scoffed and suggested that the general do his best and get to him in no time. Then the hero said that he was joking so much and added that things were bad for the general, and he could try to attack again. General Brown just called Raoul a bastard, and Raoul advised the general to give it his all. General Brown began to yell why he couldn't beat the hero, because he was the strongest man. Raoul said it looked like he was playing with the general too much and it was time for everyone to go to dinner. The hero advised the general to pull himself together and accept his defeat. After all, he had already lost to a mere brat. Raoul said that if the general had more of a sword, then he wouldn't need his hands anymore. Raoul happily said that he had prepared a very special dinner today and was sure that the general would like it very much. Therefore, they can immediately go to the feast. General Brown turned to the children and said he couldn't move. Raoul said that he did not think that the general would faint from the pain. The general called the hero a pig and asked what he had done with his children. Raoul replied that it was nothing special and just copied people, and the drug he gave them was made at the general's wife's house. Raoul said he found it in the basement when he was going to tie up the general's children. Raoul was walking through the dungeon when he found people from the castle who were not conscious. He asked the children if their mother had done it. The children just cried in response and said that their mother was dead. That's when Raoul found the drug. The hero said that the general's wife has developed a drug that is outrageous in many ways, and her family is prestigious in that it produces healers known throughout the country. Raoul said that next time he plans to go and say hello to her family, and so General Brown can give them something through him, because you can count on him. General Brown only told the hero to go to hell. The guy replied that this is exactly what he will say when he is visiting. Raoul exclaimed that the iron plate had already warmed up enough and that was fine. Therefore, he can start the carnival feast right now, and the ingredients prepared for dinner today are 2 lambs and 1 bull. The hero said that so that everyone could see the freshness of the cooked meat, he would cut it right here. General Brown hissed that he didn't need to do this. Raoul happily announced that there would be a roast of shoulder blades first. The general shouted for Raoul to stop. Raoul said that he would use butter and assured that the meat was very fresh and needed to be quickly sprinkled with salt and pepper. The hero suggested that the general enjoy a medium roast steak, and then he also apologized, because he had completely forgotten that the general had lost his hands. The general yelled at Raoul not to do this, but the hero advised the general to open his mouth and he will help him enjoy the meat. Raoul contentedly asked the general if it was really delicious, because it was his favorite dish and you couldn't drop it on the floor. The hero admired the general as he swallowed the entire piece completely. General Brown yelled at the hero, calling him a heretic. The hero replied that he was taken aback by such an accusation from the general. After all, he does the same thing that the general did before with people. Raoul laughed and said that next on the menu will be the thigh, ribs, tripe and then the tongue. The hero claimed a full course of sheep for a special general's dinner. Raoul said that now it was the general's son's turn and he needed to be fed bull meat. The hero asked the general if he had any special requests for his son. Raoul suggested that we start with the shoulder, because there is also excellent meat there. Adam squawked contentedly and said that he loved meat very much. Raoul jokingly told the general that like a father, so is the son, and he is absolutely blissful. General Brown begged the king to pardon his eldest son, his heir. Let him live, and he doesn't care about the younger son. If someone is going to die, then let it be the younger one. General Brown began to beg for forgiveness and begged to be released with his eldest son. Raoul reminded the general that this was how his mother had asked him to save her son's life, in the very village that the general had burned down. Raoul advised the general to remember what he had done with his mother's body, because he would face the same fate. General Brown screamed in terror and begged for help. Raoul said that since the whole family was dead, the show was over, and the only ones who swallow their rage are those who take revenge while they're still alive. Raoul was pleased to say that the demons of Killer Bill's castle had finally been destroyed, and that he had managed to find a convenient souvenir, so you can go play with the next loot. Chapter 12. Cries for help were coming from the National Pharmaceutical Research Institute at the Altman boarding house. Dr. Ren Bennick said that she was very interested in how many body parts a person can afford to lose before they die, and that she needed to find out. She decided that she would add the test subject's pretty legs to her collection. Ren Bennick thought she was extremely curious about what would happen if the human brain was replaced by an ape brain. She asked what she could do with this child's brain and how exciting it would be to dilute it. The doctor, hearing a knock on the door, said that it was okay to enter. Military Commander Counselor Lucas Eckhart apologized for the disturbance and said he had come to collect the waste. Ren Bennick replied that he had arrived too early and now 2 more bodies had been added. Lucas Eckhart asked if there was a change in the number. He asked if he would be paid extra for this, although as long as he was paid, he didn't mind new bodies at all, and that's why they are interested in when the payment will take place. Ren Bennick replied that he always asked about it and promised to pay for it. Lucas Eckhart explained that he couldn't rest until he heard her say that. Ren Bennick thought that this man had only money in his head and was quite a cunning person. Ren Bennick asked if she understood correctly that it was necessary to create immortal soldiers. The scientific director of the Da Costa Institute asked if she could do something similar. The doctor asked if such soldiers wouldn't be troublesome to deal with because of their immortality. Da Costa replied that the main thing is that they will not be the ones who quickly die from a battle with one monster. Ren Bennick explained that no matter how immortal they are, once their body decomposes, they will become garbage. Da Costa asked her what she meant. The doctor suggested making them curable just in case, and suggested using a drug that would make them destroy themselves after a certain period of time, immediately after they increase the strength of the samples and make them destroy the enemies. Da Costa said it was a brilliant idea, and suggested that we start development immediately. Da Costa's son, Johannes, asked the nuns if the wounded soldiers were there. He explained that he was going to move them to the lab because Dr. Bennick had developed a cure for them. This medicine can cure any no matter what, and it's enough for all the wounded soldiers. Ren Bennick said that the first experience was unsuccessful, and everyone turned into cannibals. Therefore, the work will take some time and she needs new guinea pigs, which Da Costa must prepare. People asked if they could really live in a noble house if they agreed to help Rena Bennick with her experiment. The doctor replied that this is indeed the case and all they need to do is just drink the drug. So now is the time to start the experiment. Ren Bennick said that the experience was once again unsuccessful, and they quickly become people, so we need the following ones. Da Costa generously told people that they could not return the money they had lent him in return for their participation in the doctor's experiments. People answered that they are ready to participate on such terms. Ren Bennick said that now the strength and duration are satisfactory, and the berserker is finally born. Da Costa congratulated the doctor on his success and offered to immediately give the drug to the worthless soldiers. The first job for new recruits was cargo transportation. They knew that the hero Raoul was currently fighting on the front lines and could help him as supply soldiers. They would pay him back for saving them in the slums. Johannes told the soldiers that they had arrived at the resting place and could lower their cargo. He explained that ahead of them the path will pass through the forest, which is full of monsters and it will be very dangerous. Therefore, they need to take a special drug so that everyone can protect themselves. Raoul said that now it's time to start a fun and exciting game. The hero asked the general if he agreed with him. Chapter 13. Da Costa said it was ridiculous. After all, it was impossible to think that his daughter's family would be killed. After all, her husband, General Brown, used to brag about his strength so much. Da Costa asked how much they would lose if something happened. And what if they transport the soldiers from this research institute to the royal capital? Johannes said that his father had said everything correctly and that they should call the military commander to send them soldiers. Johannes stated that he did not want to be killed like his younger sister. Ren Bennick said that they should not be afraid, because as long as they have her poison, even if the hero Rael will show up, he can't hurt them. Johannes asked her how she was going to poison the hero. Ren Bennick advised him to think with his head and stop panicking. Johannes asked her if she was laughing at her. Da Costa exclaimed that the two of them had chosen the wrong time to argue with each other. Lucas Eckhart asked everyone to calm down and think about everything calmly. Da Costa wondered if this was the only person who had been sent to guard them. Johannes whispered to his father that they said it was easier to send Lucas Earhart to the battlefield than a couple of hundred soldiers. Lucas Eckhart said that the warning letter received from the capital clarifies this situation. He asked them if they knew anything about the so-called revenge that hero Rael was talking about. Ren Bennick said she didn't know. Johannes asked if the hero really wanted revenge for that. The doctor interrupted him with a shout. She stated that there was no excuse for the hero's actions and that the traitor had simply gone mad. Da Costa asked her to be quiet, because if the hero heard her words, it would turn into trouble. Lucas Eckhart suggested that there must be some circumstances, and it's really just as Dr. Ren said. This hero is a great fool who is stupid and ignorant of the customs of this world. Lucas Eckhart said that even if he became a vengeance-obsessed killer, he wasn't something to be afraid of. Lucas asked me to tell him what they'd done to make Rael so angry. After all, if they didn't speak up, he wouldn't be able to protect them from the hero. Da Costa said it might have something to do with the drug they gave the soldiers during the war, even though it was top secret. Lucas Eckhart said that he was with them and that was why everything was fine. We must calm down. Da Costa asked if his words were really meant for a reason. Lucas replied that he was probably the only one who could be on an equal footing with a hero, and people like General Brown are brute force people, so to speak. Da Costa replied that he was relying on Lucas Eckhart, and would pay him anything. The doctor and Johannes shouted what the hell was going on and if the monster outside the window was General Brown. Ren Bennick asked Lucas to send him away immediately, but Eckhart said he would have to wait, because it looked like the general had something to say. The general muttered that all of them they were trapped inside the research institute, and no one inside would be able to get out. Except for those who managed to escape before midnight, they will be able to leave unharmed. And now the game of hide and seek begins and you have 10 minutes to escape or stay and fight as much as you can. Johannes screamed in fear and ran to his father. Da Costa asked him not to hang up and stop shouting. Lucas Eckhart said that their enemy is waiting on their confusion. Ren Bennick explained that the hero simply controls the corpse to the generals, nothing more. Lucas Eckhart reminded that Raoul always adhered, added Oko for an eye and now there is just such a case. And so everyone present should tell us what they did to incur the wrath of the hero Raoul. Lucas Eckhart asked that they mention soldiers who were the hero's favorites and whether they really killed them. Da Costa said they just prescribed a performance-enhancing drug and developed it at this research institute. And then they gave it to the hero's supply soldiers. And that's the whole story. But there was a side effect that killed the soldiers, but no one paid any attention to it, because they were just ordinary pawns. They also managed to kill all the monsters in the forest that day. Renbenic said that thanks to her drug, those worthless soldiers got power and should be grateful for it. Lucas Eckhart asked if the drug was protected at the institute. Johans yelled that if the drug was stolen, this research institute would turn into a monster house. Lucas Eckhart replied that he would listen to the details later, but now we need to get to the drug immediately. Renbenic said that she would show them where to go, and the others decided that they would also follow Lucas. Eckhart asked what it meant for the institute to become a house with monsters, because in their words, it's just a performance-enhancing drug. Doc Hoster replied that this was classified information and should not be shared with anyone. Lucas Eckhart said that such secrecy now looks completely out of place. Renbenic said the drug was in the storeroom, and she was going to open the door. But instead of the drug, there was a note from Rael, where it was written, "Who had time, he ate." Doc Hosta said that they were being made fools of and that it was dangerous to stay here. The doctor agreed and suggested that we get out as soon as possible. She exclaimed that everything was blocked by dark magic. Doc Hosta asked if there was really no way to escape from this vengeful ogre who was accompanied by a dead man. Rael said he made the right choice by taking General Brown with him. After all, he carries these heavy vials, so he was very useful. Seeing the hero, the employees of the institute shouted that they had to run away from him. Rael announced that it would soon be time for interesting games. The staff of the institute realized that they would not have enough time to reach the conference hall, because it is located on the top floor. Therefore, the rest will have to spit. Rael shouted that the ladies and gentlemen should get ready, as it was time for the game to start. The hero invited the staff to play and ordered General Brown must begin. Rael told the general that he was very rude and asked him to leave the workers alive and put them all in a pile. Employees began to ask for help and promised to do whatever they were told. Rael replied that he had something he needed help with. The scientist replied that they would do anything. The hero explained that he had a drug lying around, and they should drink it. The institute worker was horrified by this prospect, and Rael immediately said that he should try the drug. The hero said that now he understands what happens from this drug. Rael asked the subject, does he feel very thirsty after turning into a berserker? After all, this is some absurd power. The other workers shouted that they needed to run away from the berserker while there was even the slightest chance. Rael laughed and explained that they wouldn't be able to escape, because this place was crawling with monsters. The hero told Berserk that it was unnecessary to kill, as he needed test subjects. Rael told the next one that it was his turn to take the drug. The hero decided that he should have dressed as a nurse and asked the general what he thought about it. And it looks like there were only 121 people on the first floor, and now they're all water-hungry monsters. The berserkers continued to yell for water and grabbed the general. Rael said he just found a helper, and now his blood is on his clothes and it's disgusting. The general did a good job, but alas, not for long, and it is safe to say that he was one of the 5 most powerful people in this country. Rael thought that the monsters were very strong, and he did not expect such a great effect from the drug. The monsters continued to monotonously ask for water. The hero told them that he would take good care of them, and now it's time to hit the road. Chapter 15. One of the berserkers shouted for water more loudly than the others and charged at Rael. The hero thought that the monsters are very fast, and this one is not obedient and should be punished. Rael cursed when he saw that his clothes were stained with blood again. He asked what it was like to drink the same drug that they had prepared themselves. Therefore, he will play with them until the very end, without losing such a chance. Rael realized that there were only about 5 minutes left, and in this state, fine explorers were no different from wild animals. Rael said that he had thoroughly investigated the scientists' misdeeds beforehand, and he knows how they were dismissive of the soldiers, who they considered only expendable. After all, in their opinion, they are useless people not like themselves, the highest caste of society. Every single one of these many researchers who worked in this research institute was a scumbag. They became a manifestation of a privileged group of society that considered other people useless and unnecessary. Not one of the 231 scholars had a decent soul. Rael said that he didn't care about it anyway, and he just had to continue on his way. The hero said that now it's time and the researcher's torment looks very nice. Rael said he would like to see more. He knew that for this drug, the first transformation occurs immediately after ingestion, and the second transformation occurs 10 minutes after ingestion. Well, 15 minutes after taking the drug, the monsters enter the self-destruction phase. Raoul laughed at the show and said these guys were the best. Raoul thought of the supply soldiers who had wanted to join his army and admired his actions. They were safe working on the delivery line while Raoul mowed down the monsters on the front line in an attempt to save them. But it turned out that the enemy was not on the front line, But among the people, soldiers began to turn into berserkers just to test the effects of the drug, and in the end they died in vain. Scientists then said that they were the very geniuses who would bring victory. Although this is very stupid, Rael said that the only reason they can fight with their brains is because they have soldiers to protect them on the battlefield. And now they are dead themselves, once their home has been turned into a battlefield. Rael said it was all going well, and as soon as he was done here, he would quickly call 110 people from the second floor to enjoy the drug as well. Well, after that, you should go for a medical examination on the top floor. Chapter 16. Rael, after setting up the barrier, said that now his plan would be perfect. Outside the window of the Pharmaceutical Research Institute, the leaders of the institution were arguing about what they should do in the current situation. Rael thought that he wanted to laugh himself out of his wits, because these fools had been waiting for him to appear for 2 hours without even noticing that they were locked in their own house. Rael decided that this experience would be colorful, as he would use illusion magic. And now, with that said, it's time for the main event of the evening on the top floor. Rael said it was time to play hide and seek. He was pleased with the reaction of the Institute's leaders to the general's appearance. After all, the general was actually crushed on the first floor, so he made his body out of pieces of flesh, and it turned out very convincing. At the same time, the mask that Rael was wearing was also made from pieces of his flesh, and this reconstruction showed itself perfectly. The hero has decided that the game has started, and he will enjoy everything that the owners of the Institute will do. Playing Lucas, Rael knew that he had already stolen the drug himself as soon as he arrived at the Research Institute. And at the same time, I have already managed to use it on the lower levels floors. Pseudo-Lucas advised everyone to hide only inside the Institute building, because it is useless and impossible to go outside. Everyone began to say that you need to quickly find a place to hide, since it's not really possible to escape. Rael thought it would be interesting to see what the three of them were doing, and he would have to decide which of them would be first. Lucas Eckhart asked if they all believed it, and if they still had at least 6 hours to go. Da Costa suggested closing the doors for now and reminded them that the hero had promised to let everyone go if they managed to get out of the Institute by midnight. Johan shouted that even if this is true, the safest option is to hide. Rena Bannock offers to hide in a room that the hero cannot find. Lucas Eckhart asked me if I had a room like this. Da Costa and his son asked to see the room quickly, and the doctor advised to calm down and offered to drink coffee. Johans exclaimed that there was no time for coffee. Ren Bannock thought that she was lucky to have these idiots and that they gave her a chance to escape from this trap. She offered them all a cup of brewed coffee. Lucas Eckhart asked the doctor if they could exchange cups, because he has a suspicion that she added something to the drink. Because it is very interesting that she decided to make coffee for everyone, especially in this situation and knowing that this institute is engaged in the study of dangerous drugs. Ren Bannock asked why Lucas had such an opinion. Lucas explained that he thought she decided to drug everyone and turn them into monsters to fight the hero. Dr. Rennet replied that she had not put poison in any of the cups. She asked Lucas why he hadn't decided to stop her earlier. Lucas demanded that the girl explain what her words meant. Words about a great plan. Ren Bannock said that Lucas needed to be more restrained and stop the whole show. The doctor asked Lucas how he knew that the hero always follows the tit-for-tat rule, because it was written in a letter from the capital. Ren Bannock said that Lucas is trying to fully become the right person, being not him. After all, he talks too much and his words have become his downfall. The doctor said it was time for the hero Rael to stop pretending to be Lucas Eckhart. Ren Bannock laughed and said that it was terrible as a hero, because, in the end, the winner is the one who is smarter. Rael congratulated the doctor for her insight and incredibly sharp mind. The hero said that it would be sad if no one noticed, so he himself hinted, although it did not seem to her that it was too easy. Chapter 17. Ren Bannock explained why Rael was acting like he had a right to speak, because he had lost a game of hide and seek, and now he was going to die at the hands of these monsters. Johans asked if it was from the monsters. The doctor confirmed that this was the case. Ren Bannock explained to Johans and Da Costa that they would turn into berserkers in a minute, and the drug had been reworked, so it was at least 100 times more powerful than before. Ren Bannock asked Rael what it was like to be a loser. The hero replied that this was really all that she had prepared, because this could not be the end of her calculations. Ren Bannock replied that she was sad to see Rael behaving like a complete loser. The hero said that she didn't quite understand, and that wasn't what he meant. The doctor thought that Rael was trying to buy time and couldn't let him deceive himself, although it wasn't clear what he was talking about. Ren Bannock said that it was not worth stalling for time and realized that it was too late. She advised Rael to start regretting that he hadn't accepted defeat like a good boy. The girl ordered the berserkers to finish off the hero immediately. Renbenic wondered why they didn't change, since it must be different. And she did it herself, proved on numerous experiments. Therefore, she can swear that any person will turn into a berserker within 5 minutes after taking the drug. Because her drug is flawless. Rael said that he was sorry to upset the doctor, but no matter how many hours passed, they wouldn't turn into monsters. After all, this drug works only on living people. Rael explained that she was consumed with a sense of victory from solving a puzzle that even a child could solve. The hero said that Renbenic disappointed him, because he thought she was much smarter. So she lost this game of hide and seek. Rael explained that he had made them appear alive by using illusion magic, and that by the time they met in the conference room, they were already corpses. Although it was hard to manipulate and disguise these two, but it was a lot of fun. Rael happily said that she had no idea that she was all alone, surrounded by enemies. She only guessed at one opponent without noticing the others among the four. Rael said that she made him laugh when she ordered him to be killed without even waiting for him to turn into berserkers. And now he's got a stomachache from laughing. The hero asked, how could she feel like a failure when her secret weapon had been wasted? Rael asked Renbenic not to cry or get upset, because he had prepared a place for her to conduct her favorite experiments, and now you can have a good time. The doctor demanded to let her go and complained that she couldn't see anything. Rael replied that he had prepared a surprise for her and she should not resist. Although they humans also do terrible things and have killed many innocents to get guinea pigs for the drug and sate sick curiosity. Renbenic screamed that the hero was wrong and I got it all wrong, because it wasn't her decision, and she was just following orders. Raoul said that Da Costa and his son told him before they died that it was she who invented the experiments on humans. Renbenic screamed that they were liars and specifically accused her. Raoul explained that it didn't matter anymore, since they were already dead, so there was no point in accusing them of crimes. The hero asked the doctor that it was really her personal idea to kill people for experiments. Raoul said that it was time to start, and before going through her favorite experiment, she should first look at the remnants of her research. Raoul asked her why she was so shocked, since she had done all this herself. The hero chuckled and said that he believed that she would be able to reach the underground lab at the end of the corridor, and it will be interesting to see how she can swim there, and such a chance to have fun does not fall every day. Raoul urged Renbenic on, telling her that her favorite experiment was waiting for her. Chapter 18. Raoul chuckled, wondering if that was enough to frighten Renbenic, who was making her own monster weapons out of people. And, despite the fact that in this laboratory she killed dozens of people, the doctor asked what Raoul meant by that. The hero recalled how she cut a crying girl horizontally into pieces, starting with the legs. She also transplanted monkey brains into children and generally treated many people as experimental animals. Renbenic yelled that it was a lie, and she didn't do it. The doctor asked if Raoul had any proof, because unverified facts don't mean anything. Raoul replied that this was not necessary, and that her demands were inappropriate in this situation. After all, she did all this, and if it is difficult for her to remember, he will show her much more. Renbenic screamed in pain and screamed that she had done it all. She begged him to stop torturing her, because she wasn't doing anything of her own free will, and she didn't send those soldiers to their deaths. In fact, she had no choice but to obey orders. Renbenic said they would have survived if they had just drunk some water. And the soldiers died because the neighboring villagers chased them away then, and did not they gave me water to drink. Raoul replied that he had known this for a long time and that he really had a chance to save those soldiers who had turned into monsters. After all, the effect of the drug lasts for 15 minutes and they only needed to drink water. The soldiers then asked for help in the nearest village, but the residents replied that they did not want to see strangers and refused to help. Renbenic, feeling the hope of salvation, said that Raoul should take revenge on the villagers who did not help the soldiers. Raoul thought it would be fine to break the thread of hope from this cruel researcher, and take a look like her face full of despair. Raoul replied that he, too, would take revenge on the villagers, but now he had to stop talking in vain. Raoul said that now he will start an experiment on people, or rather on the experimental subject Renbenic, and this is her favorite experience, which she has been waiting for so long. The hero reminded that it is high time to start an endless experiment, and for this he will even put on a bathrobe. Renbenic screamed at Raoul not to come near her. Raoul said that if she was healthy enough to scream, she would definitely be able to pass the test. Raoul explained that she should know better than anyone else. There will be an experiment for her with her favorite poisons. The hero advised the doctor to do everything in her power, because only on her will depend how long she will be able to live. Raoul ignored Renbenic's indignation and ordered her to drink to the last drop. The hero praised the girl for her good work and asked how she liked the taste of the poison. And in general, I wonder what the effect of this poison will be. The doctor screamed that her throat was very hot. Rael laughed and said that she stank unbearably now. Renbenic begged to be allowed to use the bathroom. Rael scoffed and said she should stop fart so loudly, because it's just terrible. As for a girl, Renbenic screamed that she was dying and her stomach was in great pain. She began to beg for help, interrupted only by bouts of vomiting. Rael replied that he probably had no choice but to strengthen her organs, but only temporarily. At the same time, her pain and suffering will remain unchanged. Rael suggested that Renbenic drink the antidote if she wanted to, but she had to make it herself. The hero said that it should be a piece of cake, and despite the fact that she is vomiting and her hands are shaking, it will be interesting to see on what a brilliant doctor will come up with in such a situation. Chapter 19. Renbenic said it was impossible to do this in her condition. Rael reminded her to hurry, because soon she wouldn't be able to move. The doctor screamed that the hell she was going to die and save herself. She frantically began to remember the necessary ingredients and said that she would never die. Rael advised her to do everything in her power, because every mistake makes you start all over again, and there is less and less time. Renbenic screamed that she had done it and now she had won. Therefore no one can beat her in intelligence. Rael praised the doctor for his excellent work at job, because she really is a real talent. The hero said that now it was time to move on to the second round, because she should already be ready for it. Renbenic screamed that this couldn't be happening. Rael said that she didn't really think she could escape alive, because this was the beginning of an endless experiment. Renbenic screamed that he himself had said that if she could do it, she could live longer. Rael replied that it was true, and she was able to live a little longer with her efforts. So now you can continue the endless fun. Rael invited the girl to enjoy herself experimenting on people to the core, and he will clearly record the results. Renbenic screamed, trying to beg the hero's forgiveness. Rael replied that he was very sorry, because no matter how much she apologized, the dead wouldn't hear what she said. Round after round went on, testing Renbenic's strength. Her body began to give up under the pressure of poisons and antidotes, so her mind went blank. Rael noticed with a grin that she seemed to have had too much medication. The doctor began to shout that her skin was unbearably itchy and she needed help. Rael reminded her that she needed the antidote again, and she should do it herself if she's strong enough. At the 41st round, Renbenic started saying that she couldn't do it anymore. Rael had asked her to do her best, because this was only the 41st round, and after all, she needed a drink for every person she killed. Renbenic croaked that she really wanted to live. Rael replied that in that case, she should hurry up and get an antidote, and then her life would last a little longer. The hero asked her if she couldn't get back on her feet. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to continue giving her poison to drink. Rael was pleased to say that Dr. Renbenic died after 17 hours and 31 minutes. He chuckled and added that her untimely death was very sad, because that was the end of the story of revenge on the Mad Doctor. Rael thought that the rain had already stopped and that he was very much enjoying the smell of the damp street at night. The hero decided that now it's time to take his horse and go to the next destination.